Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Arsenal Away with me, Samrid and Ashwin. We've got a special guest on our show this week, Ali, as most of you know, Chief Doozy, serial troller of United fans as well as Liverpool fans, and of late Arsenal fans as well. Ali bhai, welcome. Great to
Thank you
finally
very
have you
much.
on. Great to
No,
finally
thank
have
you
you
very
on.
much. It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, glad to be a part of this.
So Ali, you're back home right now, away from work, from what I gathered when we spoke.
Yes, I'm in
Nice,
Pakistan at the moment,
right?
enjoying some food, weddings, lots of stuff going on. So yeah, no, yeah, glad to be away from London at the moment and not having to go to the game to see us lose as badly as we did yesterday. So yeah, it's nice, nice being away.
So coming to the game yesterday, Ali, did you think? What did you think of the lineup first? Did you think he was expected, or did you think he was going a little bit too attacking against Alexis City?
I personally thought that it was well, it was a lineup that the fans wanted. Everyone wants to see the 4-2-3-1 with Ozil at the number 10 position. I personally thought we should have gone for 4-3-3, but that's my opinion. But thankfully, we didn't go for three at the back that we saw in the Europa League. I thought that was horrible. But no, it was expected. I mean, I was feeling a little confident at the start, but especially the first 30 seconds when Martinelli had that chance. And then after that, it was just, yeah, what can you say? It
Yeah,
was,
I mean, this shows that how fine margins currently in the league. At this point, it could have very easily been us 1-0 up if Martinelli had maybe taken his chance or maybe laid it off to Auba there.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, but it just
I
shows
mean,
that we sort of fell to pieces the moment they pressed us a little bit, just bypassed the midfield. So your
yeah,
thoughts
and
on
I
that?
think that's not been the case with, it's been the case for so many years now because we've had the same performance where we sort of concede a goal early or, heads drop, and then we sort of just take a beating from whoever we're playing. So it was really sad to see that in a way, but it was kind of expected. But to go behind that early, I thought was really really poor on our part. But the stats at the end of the game was interesting because the XG that City had wasn't huge. It was 0.64 against 0.28 for Arsenal. But at the end of the day, they have world class players like De Bruyne was amazing yesterday. And that's the difference that you get from players who have the ability to just change a game with just one kick of the ball. And he did that. And he scored that first one. You just knew Arsenal were done straight away, and that was only sort of
1 minute in.
a minute, 2 minutes in, yeah, 1 minute 30 seconds in. So and you knew the game was over straight away. So no, it's just sad, but it's what I've seen now for a while. I mean, I go to a lot of games. I've got a season ticket this year, so I've gone to almost all the home games. Um, the year before that, and the year when Arsene Wenger left the club, that year I was going to almost all the away games, and we lost. I think it was only the last really one against Huddersfield that we won. So I'm used to seeing the same performance now for so many years, and I think people were expecting a lot too, like a bit too much from Freddie. I think it's just I completely understand. Some fans thought that there would be this new bounce that you get from a manager coming in. Everyone thought that Unai Emery would just leave and we'd start playing amazing football again. It's not as simple as that. And I think yesterday was again another game where we looked like the old Arsenal, where we had a team that wanted to attack, but our attack was completely disjointed compared to our defense. And there's no balance currently in the team. I think Freddie said that at the end as well. So yeah, it's just one of those things. We've seen this game so many times now, and it's not even like we've not changed the players. We've changed the players. We've invested 200 million in the last sort of 2 years, and we still get the same performances, same results. So you really have to question what is going on, not just on the players' side, but also on the coaching side. But on the coaching side, I can't really blame Freddie because he's got one other person helping him. I think I said it on Twitter as well. It was quite revealing that Freddie just went and gave the whole truth to Sky, saying that he's got one other person with him, including and then another person who's a goalkeeper coach, basically.
Mhm.
So there's not much you can expect from this game. But yeah, the West Ham game I think gave people a little bit of hope, but I think that was more to do with West Ham being really poor in those sort of 10 minutes where we scored those three goals. They were awful. Before that, in the first half, I thought they had chances, and yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just becoming very yeah, it's becoming sad. So I hope that whoever the new appointment is, whether it's Arteta or whoever it is, I'll back them because I always back the manager, whoever it is. And yeah, I just hope it gets better, but I think it will take a while. It will take some time.
So just coming on to your point that you made on recruitment that we've had, it's been an issue during Wenger's reign, and also with Emery. Everyone thought that the summer was great, but it hasn't really panned out. Do you think the problems are not really? But I mean, everybody points the finger at Kroenke is not really giving us money, but that's not really been the case, has it? Ever since we signed Ozil
I,
all those
yeah,
years
no, I
ago.
yeah, I completely disagree with the whole that Kroenke hasn't backed Arsenal. I mean, we have one of the highest wage bills in the league. We've spent money. It's like we last year we wanted a winger. Everyone was crying that, oh, it's going to get better when we get a winger. We'll be better, defensively if we get a winger because the guy can, take the ball up. We'll be better off. We all wanted Zaha or Pepe. Everyone thought that we'd get Zaha, we wouldn't get Pepe, and we ended up with Pepe, which was amazing. It's not something you would expect. We needed a left back. No one trusted Kolasinac since last year. They signed Tierney. I know the centre back issue was a big one, but they actually did something very ballsy, which was to go out and get someone young who a lot of clubs were after, and they were willing to let him go on loan to Saint Etienne for another year, which is again something that Arsenal, I believe, is something different. We wouldn't have done that back in the day with Arsene Wenger. We would have sort of passed up on the opportunity knowing that the player wouldn't join us. So I don't believe it's recruitment. I just think the whole mentality of the club. I don't think there's enough pressure on the players to deliver. I mean, like we joke around as fans of the club that we're not quite the team to win the league. The top four jokes used to be really funny back in the day, and I think whether you're a player or a fan of the club, that also rubs off on you. I think the mentality of saying that this is Arsenal Football Club, we haven't won the title for 16 years, so I think people it's just become a part of the culture of the club. We're just a part of the Premier League, and we'll hope for the best, but we're not actually one of the top teams. And I think that definitely rubs off on the players. Their heads drop as soon as we concede goals, and it's just a recurring theme now. So I hope that the next guy who comes in has a very, very strong hold on the mentality of the club, because I think that's what we need. If we don't have that, I don't think we'll progress at all. With even if it's Arteta or if it's Pochettino, whoever it is, I think it'll be impossible.
Uh, it's a good point that you bring up about pressure. My point about me, my point about bringing in Arteta, right, is that what makes you think that people, if they didn't listen to Freddie, are going to listen to Arteta? I mean, he's not. He's essentially the same role as Freddie as well, right? They both haven't had the Premier League experience. It's just that Arteta's just number two, one of the best managers in the world. But essentially, they're both on the same level playing field. They don't. They haven't.
Yeah,
They haven't been. They don't have the Premier League experience. Like we
yeah,
mentioned this on the pod before, saying that the Premier League is a different beast. Managers can go around the world, learn their trade, do well, but when they come to the Premier League, it's a completely different animal. What
yeah,
makes you think that players are going to go and say, okay, listen, I'm going to listen to Arteta? I don't think maybe it's okay. Like you talk about the honeymoon period, maybe Arteta can turn things around for maybe 1-2 months. But if something turns sour, something turns ugly, what makes you think players are not going to do the same thing that they did with Unai Emery or what they're doing with Freddie Ljungberg?
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, from Twitter, people should know that I've been very against the Arteta appointment. I feel like it's
Yeah.
a big risk. I'm not saying that I've got anything against Mikel Arteta. He's a great player. I used to like him when he was at the club. I thought he was a very good captain as well. But I feel like we're at such a delicate stage now as a football club that this is make or break. And I've said this so many times, and a lot of people disagree with me that no, we should write off this season and then hope for the best next year. But the problem that I have with that is we have some very, very important players that have got very minimal time left on their contracts. And I'm very worried in that sense, because, like you said, if Freddie, who is a club legend and invincible, cannot have that hold on these players to make them perform, what will Arteta do? I think it's not enough to just suggest that he's worked with Pep, so that means he's going to be a great manager. It's not never the case. I mean, if you look back on those days, you must have seen the pictures on Twitter all the time of Jose Mourinho when he was with Barcelona. with the likes of Ronald Koeman. You know, and he was part of that whole. You know, they used to say the school of Cruyff. They learned about the beautiful game. Does Mourinho play the beautiful game? No. So there's no proof that an assistant manager who's just because he's been with Pep or he's been at Barcelona or he's learned through Cruyff that he's going to do you know, exactly that type of football. I think it's a huge risk, and I completely agree with you. But you know, at the end of the day, what can we do as fans? It's just one of those things. I mean, I'd love to be out there and protest and say I'd rather have Pochettino. I really wanted Pochettino. I think the work that he did at Spurs was incredible. I mean, we used to take Spurs as a joke, you know, before Pochettino arrived, on the days of Martin Yol and Juan de Ramos. You know, we used to think of they were literally the level of, you know, you'd say Everton. You know, a team that's nearly there, near fifth, sixth, seventh position, but never quite top four. But he's cemented them as a top four team. And I said this on Twitter very vocally as well, that Arsenal don't need a risk right now. What they need right now is someone to come in and stabilize the club. And by stability, I mean position-wise. There needs to be a manager who stabilizes us as a top four club. And then after that, if the progress isn't being made, or like for instance with Spurs, they couldn't take that next step to be able to win trophies or to actually challenge for the title. They went and got another manager who they believe could do that. And I think Arteta would have been a better choice after you get some stability at the club. Then you're able to take a risk. At this moment in time, it could go horribly wrong, and you're basically left as a mid-table club after that. I mean, it's the longer this continues without Champions League football, money-wise, commercial deals-wise, revenue-wise, it just goes gets worse and worse basically. But as a fan, all you can do is hope for the best. So I'll back him when he comes in. I backed Unai Emery when he came in. I was actually living in France at the time when he was a PSG manager. And I used to watch a lot of PSG because that was it was the biggest club in France. I was in Paris, so I went to see a few games, and I knew at the start that this guy wasn't going to bring the football that Arsenal fans wanted to see. But I still backed him. You know, I still back him to this day. I think he was just the job was a bit above him, as was PSG. But again, I'll back Arteta as well. So it's kind of like I'm a bit sad that the option is Arteta. But what can you do as a fan? You know, it's just if that's going to happen, it's going to happen. We just have to wait and see.
So just on that piece, Ali, I think you and I are on the same page when it comes to the kind of managers that we want. I'm also very keen. I would rather was very keen on Pochettino as well.
Yeah.
Not because he hasn't won anything, but just because of his sheer ability to string together a squad and play some style of football, and which he's done with Spurs and established them as well. What do you think the board is seeing in Arteta that they are so keen on him? I mean, we're hoping it's not the presentations that everyone thought Emery did last year.
Yeah.
Is it the money, as has been rumored? Is it the fact that they're looking at someone who's familiar with the ethos of what Arsenal represents, whatever that is at this point in today's day and age? And or is it just there's no one better at this time? We give him, if he's a new manager, it might just work out well for us, and then let's just see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's an interesting one because my heart says that they've brought someone in who they believe knows the values of the club, who's been a captain here before, someone who knows what it means to play for the club. I mean, some of the articles from the time when Arteta used to be at Arsenal were very positive. He talked about in 2015 there was a very nice piece that he did in the Arsenal program where he said that he was basically he was one of Arsene Wenger's trusted men to bring balance to the team. So he used to work with Alex Song. He used to work with the defenders that he had at the time of the club to work a balance out for us. And we were actually pretty good at the time when he was there. Towards the end of his career, obviously, he started to lose his legs. He wasn't able to, he wasn't as quick as he used to be. So it got a bit more difficult. But the cynical side in me is saying that this is someone they're bringing in to firstly appease the fans, because there's quite a few people that would support Mikel Arteta, but also the fact that they don't think he is someone who will demand a lot from the board. I think he'll be very thankful to be able to be, given this chance to work as his first job, basically as a manager. So he won't be as vocal or as as angry as Freddie has been in the last couple of weeks. So that's what the cynical side in me says, that he's just there because he's he's not going to maybe get as much money, or he's not going to be as as Pochettino was with Daniel Levy when he asked for a lot of funds during the last year, got very unhappy. So that's what the cynical side in me says. But football is one of those things that this could be a fantastic appointment, or this could be a really, really bad one. Unfortunately, as fans, you have to ride through it and just see what happens. But I think, I think for me, it's a very difficult choice between saying whether it's a good choice, with going with my brain to say that it's a cynical thing and it's going to be a really, really difficult for Arteta, and that the board just need a yes man, as people say. But it's something we have to find out. I mean, if it's going to definitely happen, and the reports seem to suggest that it is, then let's write it out and see. But I will say that not last year, sorry, in 2018, the summer when Arsene Wenger left the club, there was also this 1 week where we had this whole Arteta thing, where it looked like Arteta was coming for sure, that it was 100% deal. I think there were people that had put ridiculous bets on Arteta. His odds were ridiculous across the whole betting markets. And then suddenly we appointed Unai Emery. Now, of course, I know there's pictures of Vinay and of Husfani at Arteta's house last night. So let's see what happens. But yeah, it's something we will find out soon, Samrid. And I hope that it's something positive. I hope it's not negative, because I think it could break us for sure.
I have one question to you. Do you trust this board? And why I say that is because I think you just mentioned it, saying that a lot of people are writing the season off, and you don't want that to happen, because if we write the season off and we give Arteta 7 months and we end up, say, about seventh, eighth, or we don't even qualify for Europa League, there are possibilities of Aubameyang and Lacazette leaving, and possibly like Torreira and somebody else also looking at moving. So, do you trust the board? By what I mean is that in Jan, you think they're going to understand the situation and go out and buy and recruit and get enough players to strengthen the team, so that people like Aubameyang and Lacazette realize that, okay, they are investing. Arsenal might be headed in the right direction, and we might want to give them another 6 months. Do you think the board is capable of doing something like that?
I personally have never ever trusted the Arsenal board, and it's not anything to do with the players, or because we've always tried to replace players. I mean, when we sold Alexis to Man United, I think everyone was really disappointed, but we tried to make the best out of the situation. We brought in Mkhitaryan, which I guess wasn't a great signing at the time, but we also spent 60 million on Aubameyang to replace the goals. So I do believe that they have the best interests in terms of recruitment in their minds, because they have spent money. It's not like they haven't. There are much worse situations, I think, at clubs like Man United, where they have so much money and they're seemingly not trying to spend as much as they could do. So I can't agree with that sense, but I don't trust them in the notion that I don't believe. I just feel like it's very the incompetence, I think, is the right word to use. I think they're very slow. I think they're very lethargic when they make decisions. I think the fact that they decided to get rid of Emery without having a clue on who they wanted to appoint next was the biggest telltale sign. And it was the same with Arsene Wenger. I mean, it was clear since 2014, and I know we've won 3 FA Cups after that. Since 2014, you could notice that there was a downward sort of trend for Arsenal. And it wasn't getting better. It was the same results in big games. It was the same, defeats to clubs like Swansea. When we really needed to win, we went and we beat Leicester. Then you lose to the Man United reserves, and you lose to Swansea in a week. So the telltale signs were there, but we kept continuing. I just feel like it's a like it's a bunch of people that are very, very scared of taking risks. And I think that Arteta is the first time I think that they're trying to take a risk, but there's no guarantee that it'll work out. Now, in terms of the players, if any player wants to leave the club, I can't blame them, to be honest. I don't think any fan can blame them. You're talking about players like Aubameyang. I mean, he's scored 60 odd goals in 80 games. I mean, there's not much more that a player like him can give to the club. I mean, lots of people blame Aubameyang, saying, "Oh, he should be dropping deep to collect the ball." Or against City, he had 2 touches, but that's just not his game. You can't tell a 31-year-old guy to change his game completely from what he's doing for the last 20, 25 years, since he was a kid. So I think it's really, really important to remember that we just need to focus on just trying to do the best we can right now, really. And in terms of the board, no, I don't trust them. I don't think I will until they give me a reason to trust them.
just interesting you bring up the board in that manner, Ali, because I think so. Ashwin and I have always been of the opinion that in fact, as recent as our last episode, I did make the point that we're a very reactive club as opposed to being proactive. Um, the entire the entire blueprint of us trying to adapt what Liverpool did in 4 to 5 short years has been completely thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Um, just moving forward, how do you think? I mean, I know if Arteta comes in, I would probably, um, with some level of logic applied as to being an Arsenal fan, I would probably then give him these 7 months just to figure out what he needs to do. Hopefully, not get
Yeah.
relegated, and then just begin afresh from the summer. Um, Having said that, do you think? I mean, anyways, I think our squad is anyways has a lot of average players that we need to get rid of anyways. Do you think
Yeah.
that will probably start getting implemented in Jan, or are they going to wait for a summer clear out, give him some fresh funds, assuming it's still Arteta? And how do you think they're going to progress with him over the next 6 months or so?
I think they'll definitely have some funds available for January. I don't think any manager that wants to interview for the job or wants to take the job will be speaking to the club and saying and accepting the fact that that they won't have money to spend, because it's so clear that Arsenal need to spend money on the defense, especially considering the fact now that Kolasinac is injured, Tierney's injured, so left back is a position I'm worried about. I know that we got Bellerin coming back, so we can have Maitland-Niles switch over to left back, which he used, when he first with Arsene Wenger, he used to play at left back to cover. I understand that, but I think the centre back position has to be strengthened. I think any sane, logical person who wants to succeed in the Arsenal job has to ask for money to spend in January on that centre back position. Whether they'll get that money or not is another question that only they know about. But I can't see anyone accepting that. Yeah, I'll just work with what I have right now. But I think the board will want Arteta to basically the next sort of 7 months work out who he wants to keep and who he doesn't want to keep. I don't think we'll have drastic changes in January. I don't think that's realistic because it doesn't happen in football. I think January is a very, very difficult market. I think it's a market where prices are extortionate. Players are available, but only for ridiculous fees. So we'll have to bide our time. But I think from what you hear about Arteta from Pep and from all these articles is that he's good at improving players. So you would hope that he can bring something to the table to be able to improve players like players like Xhaka, for example. I think he needs a lot of help, and I think if the rumors are true that it will be Mikel Arteta and for instance Xabi Alonso that come in, and that's perfect for someone like Xhaka. It's his position. They've both played his position. They know what they would want from him. So I think it'd be great for him. Players like Sterling have improved, so you would hope that players like Pepe would improve under him, because I think Pepe is just about now starting to kickstart his career at Arsenal. I think he's been very good the last couple of weeks. I watched him in France, and he's getting that mojo that he had in France. That sort of confidence is coming back to him. But I think for your question about what I expect in the next 7 months, I think we have to be realistic. It's not going to be the same. I get so many people in my mentions telling me, "Oh, if Emery had left, if Emery leaves, before he was sacked, they were saying to me, "Oh, if Emery leaves, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be amazing football. We're going to be playing champagne football. It's going to be beautiful. The Arsene Wenger's Wenger ball will be back." It's not as easy as that. And I think we need to bide our time. There will be some shock defeats. There will be games where we have like one shot on target. There will be games like that for sure, because he will be trying to work out what is the best way to motivate these players, but also what is the best way to implement his thinking on the pitch. So I think we need to just bide our time for the next 7 months. What worries me is how close we are to the bottom of the table. So I hope obviously, it's not even thought that crosses your mind, but stranger things have happened in football. But I hope nothing like that happens. But I think we have to write this. I want to say that we should write the season off, but I don't want to, only because, Ashwin mentioned that about the players in their contracts. So I hope Aubameyang or Lacazette or whoever else gets the confidence from Arteta to understand that This is a journey now, and we as fans need to accept that this is going to be a journey. There's going to be many speed bumps on the way, and it's not going to be as easy as just a manager comes in, teaches us how to defend, and suddenly we're amazing. It's going to be very, very tough the next couple of months. So let's hope for the best. That's all we really can do.
Ah, I mean, like you, I'll back Arteta all day. I'd give him the time. I'd give him maybe 2 windows, 3 windows. I did the same with Unai Emery as well. It's just that I feel that this position that Arteta has been given right now has come a bit too early. We probably needed somebody else. And see, I'm all for the guy who loves watching attractive football, the flair play, and good fast football like we're all used to, right? But right now we're so poor with our defense. Right now, we need somebody who can come and tighten up our defense and just make us defend better. Because it wasn't a surprising stat that when Kevin De Bruyne came out in his interview saying that we knew that the 4 Arsenal players in the attack don't come and defend, and we knew there's going to be space available in midfield. So it's something that you and me have seen. It's something that the opponents are seeing. Why is it that the Arsenal managers or the Arsenal team or the board are not being able to see that? And why can't they fix that? For someone like Freddie, I understand he wants to play that champagne football, that free flowing football, because that's all he knows. But if I was the manager, knowing that Emery has done so badly, conceded so many goals, we've not kept a clean sheet in I think 16 games. For me, the first thing I would have done is listen, just sit tight, keep it as compact as possible. I think that's the same thing what Duncan Ferguson's done at Everton, right? And they're looking so much better. That's something that we need to do. I would have never said that I would have wanted a Jose Mourinho at Arsenal or even like a Simeone because that's not the sort of football we play. But at the moment, those are the guys we need.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, I've never, somebody will know from from Twitter, I'm not someone who is, in love with the whole, that we have to play amazing champagne football. I think effective football is the best form of football in the modern game. I think there's a lot of teams that have shown that effective football is what gets you, the success. And having a good defense usually means that you're a good team. Whether you're Simeone's Atletico or you're Zidane's Madrid or whoever else, having a good defense allows you to basically build from the back and have success. I think where Arsenal struggle is that I just don't believe we've invested enough in the personnel we have. I think just look at the options we have at centre back. Let's start with Socrates. I mean, he was extremely poor for Dortmund in his last year. You could see the mistakes creeping in, and it's not really improved since he's been at Arsenal. You look at someone like David Luiz. What can you say more about David Luiz? I mean, he's a good guy. Seems like a really great guy to have in the dressing room. He's a seasoned professional. He, great for the young players like Martinelli, but he's just, again, he's got a mistake in him. He's not someone you will look to for amazing defensive performances. You've got Mustafi in there. I mean, the less said about him, the better. Then you've got 2 young guys in Chambers and Holding who I feel like haven't learned anything really from the guys around them. And Holding, I always say that he's been injured, so I can't really say anything about him. But I think we, as Arsenal fans, regard him like high regard because he seems to have a couple of good games, but then injured for a while, so we seem to forget, and it's all about he's called Rob Holdini or whatever the hell we call him these days. So it's the personnel. I feel we don't just have leaders in our defense at all. I feel like we have a bunch of guys that are just playing together but have so many mistakes in them that we'll never be able to defend with them. But I think it's not also as easy as saying that the manager comes in, we suddenly start to defend amazingly. It takes time. Mentality is a big thing again. Like I mentioned before, I think it just zaps all the energy out of us. As soon as the defender makes a mistake, you can see Aubameyang. It's very noticeable actually when you go to games, and I've been to loads this year, especially at home. When we concede a goal, and it's a mistake. It's Aubameyang's head. It looks like, why am I here? Like, why is this happening every week? And you can see it. They know it themselves as well. They can't trust their own defense. So it's one of those things. And I think Emery tried his best, and he tried all sorts of different things to try. And that's why we saw some. And people blamed him a lot for these changing lineups every week. But he was basically trying to find one formula that allowed us to put as less pressure on our defense as we could. So he tried this whole 3 DMs that people thought was ridiculous and was a black mark on Arsenal's name that we were playing 3 defensive midfielders. He then tried this new thing where because we couldn't press, we tried to play Torreira at number 10 so that we could get some energy in our attack to defend from the start of our attack, basically. He tried so many different things and nothing worked. And I think that's more to do with personnel, and he lost his job because those players just weren't good enough in defense. And I think it's going to be the same for Arteta this year. That's why I'm saying we need to bide our time. And I think there's a huge, huge, huge pressure on the new guy that's coming in, Saliba. I think he's just he's 19, 18 years old. And I think everyone is already treating him as some sort of second coming of Rafael Varane, that he's just going to come in and will be amazing. And I think that's massive pressure on some such young shoulders. I know he's a big guy and he seems like a talented fellow, but I think we have to really be realistic that it's going to take a long, long time. Saying that it's huge pressure on him, and I think Arteta will take time as well. But I think the defense has to improve, and I completely agree with you that we should have gone for someone who has a knack of developing defensive teams. But yeah, we have to hope for the best. Let's just hope that whoever Arteta brings in to help us with the defense is better than we've had in the previous sort of 5-6 years. Let's hope so.
Final question, Ali Bhai, before we wind up. I know you've to run for dinner, so I'm just going to wind up. My final question to you: how do you think where do you think we'll finish come the end of the season?
I don't think we'll make Europa League, which I'm not fussed about. I think what we'll see is I hope that Freddie gets to stay on as part of the coaching setup. I think what we'll start seeing post January, I think, is I think it's very harsh to say this because I still feel like Chelsea will lose games. But I feel like at this moment in time, Manchester United and Tottenham have a better chance of catching Chelsea than we do. So I think it's going to be very, very tough for us to actually get top 4. I don't think it's realistic. It would be a miracle, I think, if we did, especially because the new guy is coming in and we need to learn a lot of things with him. So I think what we'll start seeing is a more of a focus on the Europa League. And what we'll start to see from January is a lot more youngsters playing in the Premier League. But I think, personally, I think 8th or 9th, I think, is going to be where we finish. And I just feel like it's a very, very sad thing because I don't think we've ever finished as low as that, as far as I can remember, really. I think 6th is the worst that I've seen in my time as a fan. So it's very, very sad, but it is what it is. And well, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope lots of people retweet this when they say that, haha, you said we finished 8th or 9th, and we finished 4th or whatever. I hope so. Because it would be great, but I'm not confident, and I'm not confident because of the ability of Arteta. It's just the situation that we're in. I think it will be difficult to recover it.
No, I think it's a fair point. I think in fact, I had predicted December to be a tough run in. Ashwin had said, in fact, November is when we'd probably start fading, just seeing how the results lined up. But thank you, Ali. This has been great. I really appreciate you coming on, folks. Ali is on Twitter at Chief Tuzi. I think this is his 20th Twitter account that he's finally made and hasn't gotten blocked on as yet.
Soon enough, I'll be gone. I'll have a new one soon.
So thank you, Ali, once again. Guys, we're on Twitter at the Arsenal Away. That I'm Samrid. He's Ashwin. Follow us. Click the bell icon to get notified when we upload next. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, guys. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.